What's up, guys? It's Will Rich. So, a quick update for you on BigBear.AI today. We were trading it this morning. We also took a position on Supermicro Computer. This is a move we've been waiting for. They dipped here after earnings and we got in. Not anything has really happened here. We're looking for an 8 to 10% gain, down just a little bit there, about $31, while the portfolio is up about 1.7% today. Now, we had some movements in a positive direction there for AMD stock, but what we were really focusing on today is BigBear.AI. So AMDL is up 9%. Taiwan Semiconductor, which we pointed out in our live session this morning, was up 5%. All those things. So really good stuff. But then you see BBAI today dipping just a tad, about 1.4%, down to about 660. We have some really strong levels of support here at this $6 price point. And now it's selling back down here to this level at 650 in really kind of starting what is maybe a continuation of this uptrend and maybe a retest into a greater trend. Now, a couple things to watch. We could see it really sell back down if it can't hold this 650. That's pretty strong support there at $6.50. But what we're looking for on the chart, at least, is a trend kind of similar to this. Maybe we get something like this. That is green. I meant to make it orange. Let me see if I can make that orange. There we go. And then maybe a trend like this. You have that rising support, then you have a rising resistance, maybe something like this on its way back up. And this is the bullish outlook, right? So we're looking for really what would be something along the lines of this uptrend here, about a 9-10% or even 20% increase if it's going to continue in that direction upwards. Now, right now, how it's kind of looking is it's selling down. It just pushed below the 200-day moving average. It's pushing below that EMA. So we're seeing it start to consolidate here and maybe sell back down. No confirmation yet. But if we see it start to bounce here at $6.50, this is the move that we're kind of looking for. Now, had a lot of people mentioning that their earnings are coming up on the, is it the 11th next week, that they have some really big announcements that could hit the markets. One of the things we've been watching really closely with BigBear is the rapid deployment of their Veriscan. So they have this biometrics, and that's been really big for them as they've gone into over 17 airports. That they are one of the main contenders for this contract, which we haven't heard anything on yet. It's a $5.4 billion potential opportunity here with TSA. TSA's looking for screening partnerships to reduce reliance on manual labor and incorporate AI-driven threat detection. Well, that's exactly what BigBear does. And BigBear is already kind of putting themselves into that position as they recently have been deployed into a couple airports, including Denver International Airport. You got JFK, as well as Chicago. There's Dallas, and there is even SFO we heard as well. And apparently Sacramento. I'm going to fly out of there soon. I live in California. We'll see if they're actually in Sacramento. But this is the move today. So down about 1.5%. The market cap's under $2 billion as of right now. And their revenues have been increasing year over year. But what we saw recently in the quarter was that they were holding around $34 million in revenue. We were looking for them to continue that increase up into the $50 million in revenue. Now, let's see if it's true and how much it bleeds into their next earnings call this next week. That they said there was a backlog, but also that they had some contracts that hadn't yet hit their bank account that should have, but that they were just waiting on the money and they couldn't count it for this earnings. Now, if we see that in tandem with some of the new contracts that they've added in this last quarter, and they keep this total assets well above their liabilities, around $400 million, with their liabilities under 200 there, then that's going to be really good for them. So we got to see really what we're talking about. If they come in above 45 million, that's going to be pretty bullish. anything below 40 million would be not so bullish. So really looking for them to come in with $50 million or above in revenue is what we're looking for. Now, with the chart right now, the bullish sentiment would be for that recovery. It's about a 20% swing up into that $7.50 to $8 range. The more bearish perspective that you'd want to watch out for is definitely going to be the $6.50 support. Now, we've seen it kind of bounce last time around that 650 and shoot up. We see it now get back down to that level, and we're going to see how it holds. Big Bear also recently established a larger amount of increased positions from institutions. We're seeing a lot more institutional trading in AI for sure, but we're seeing now what is BlackRock, and you got State Street there as Morgan Stanley and Vanguard really increase their positions. AE Industrials with 63 million shares. This is why we cover the stock. It's because we're seeing that institutional interest as well, not just the real world usage, which is our biggest indicator that we oftentimes use. So with the market seeing some recoveries today, we start to see some movements happening on Big Bear. We're going to be watching that level, that $650 range there. The biggest thing they have, while they are doing, maybe the World Cup, preparing for the infrastructure of the Olympics as well, they also are going to be getting a lot of data. And as they get a lot of data here with the VeriScan and getting deployed at airports, whether it's directly to the airports or it's at TSA, or directly to the gates or at TSA, they're going to be getting a lot of data. And that data is where really they could see more contracts. If they get good at it, they could see more of a value built in their company, as data is definitely the name of the game. But not just that, they also have their threat detection. So you guys have probably seen these kind of cool machines they have in the airports where you can kind of see the different threats of different items inside of the suitcases. And that uses some AI as well. And then you also got Arcus here, which is BigBear.AI's edge-enabled computer vision, where it's a satellite and kind of a bird's eye view of things. And oftentimes their whole thing with their company is they catch things that the human eye would miss. Some of you guys might have seen some of the AI, for example, where it's like you throw up an X-ray or you throw up, an MRI or something, and the AI is able to see stuff that the doctor can't even see, because the AI is like scanning every single little bit of a scan, and it's able to detect maybe things early that a doctor wouldn't be able to see. Same thing is true with defense. It's gonna comb through all of the threats. That's why biometrics is big, and why when in this .gov article you say they're looking to, you see that they're saying we want to rely less on manual labor. I mean, one human trying to catch, let's say identifying a threat on somebody entering with the VeriScan here, like, and knowing where they're coming from, where they're going, and then integrating that with the databases of Homeland Security and things like that. That's a really tough task for a human. But when you have AI doing it, it could be really powerful. Now, that's really great, and we could probably see Kevin McAleenan, the CEO, who was acting Secretary of U.S. Department of Homeland Security, have the ability to connect with Homeland Security really well with their systems. And also, he was the Commissioner of U.S. Customs and Border Protection, so it makes sense that he can make that connection with those databases. And that's great. It's really important that that is accurate, because, for example, my wife, she's from Argentina. If we come into the US, she has all of her paperwork good. She's able to come in and out of the US, all that stuff. She's totally fine and legal. But imagine that for some reason, the system is saying one thing, like, oh, you can't come into the US, blah, blah, blah. And there's not a human there to, really look at the paperwork or something, or this thing can look at the face but not at the paperwork, and it's not accurate. Then you have a machine that's making a decision that might not be accurate. That's a big problem. That's why they got to have the data that's going through these things really, really accurate. So I think they have the ability to do that, and they'll continue to do that. But that's one of the biggest hurdles that we can see happen with them right now. So we we are holding long-term positions on BigBear.AI. We got in around $2.80 back before the first surge. Started covering it back in October around $1 a share, and we saw it surge to $10 all the way back to 2.50, where I was still holding my $2.80 average long position. And we've continued to actually add since then. We kind of got our position built up, and we do buy the dips. On the short term, we love to trade it. We do trade BigBear.AI quite often on the short term, as it has fairly consistent swings when we're able to identify the trends. A really good example was the last time it had a hyper bull trend. We were trading live in Stockmate, and every new previous resistance was acting as a support. So previous resistance here acting as support, previous resistance acting as support, previous resistance acting as support. This is really like a hyper bull trend, a classic hyper bull trend. We just get this stair step, movement throughout the few days of about 10% per day. And those are the types of movements we're looking for. So right now we are kind of at a moment where they've pulled back. We're looking to try and develop, something in this range, this previous resistance level as a support, and maybe pushing up and using this previous resistance here as a support. But we're just going to see how they validate this $6.50 range. Because if they sell back down below here, now we're just consolidating. We're continuing more of this left to right motion. And that's when we really got to watch the levels and look for more of that movement start to kick in, either up or down, so we can make quick decisions on some of the shorter term positions. So really important to when we're looking at them, considering, of course, the financials, the news, the charts. We look at all of the intrinsic values, the announcements from the company. They got their earnings coming up, but really we're also looking at the overall risk management. We want to look for opportunities, 10 to 20% margin for profit, and we're looking to manage risk accordingly, that we can afford to lose those shorter term trades as we're continuing to look for margins for profit that are that much greater than that of our loss. So I appreciate you all. Hopefully I earned your thumbs up. If you guys do want to join us in our daily live trading session in Stockmate, we have earnings there where we have targets for the week. Here, all of the targets along with the different companies and their earnings. We also have live trading every single morning at market open. If you want to see our daily live trading, it's the second link in the description. And you also, for a limited time, are getting lifetime access to our daily live trading. So recurring theme, you get lifetime access to if you don't want to pay a subscription, but you want to get lifetime access and a free t-shirt. It's the second link in the description below. Thanks so much for watching. Again, hopefully I earned your thumbs up. Smash that like button. Do consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.